Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I am very lucky to be joined by Chris of Playbook Media. How's it going, Chris?
Fantastic. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Really nice. So, Chris, I would love to just start off by learning a little bit more about your background and a little bit more about Playbook Media.
Sure. So I have an interesting background. I graduated from Boulder in 2020, or excuse me, 2002, and I did not know what to do with my communication degree. And so I got a job at California Pizza Kitchen, started taking double shifts so I could move out of the parents' house. And then I found a job opening on hotjobs.com for a small internet company called Google. And so I interviewed and I got it was a temp to hire role back in the day. So they'd hire a bunch of recent grads and then kind of evaluate them over the period of, 3 months or so. And they kind of converted me to full time. And I ended up staying there for almost 10 years and saw a crazy amount of growth while being there. We were
Wow.
actually when I got there, so I was around employee 1,000. We were actually behind Yahoo in search ad marketing share, which is kind of crazy,
That's
right?
insane. Yeah. Especially now looking at it now, was Google cool to work for back then? Is
Yeah.
now? Yeah. They still
Yeah,
have
they had the bouncy balls. There was only one cafeteria at the time, but still free food. And then all the other excessive stuff came over the years.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I One of my friends worked at Google and I had the pleasure of visiting campus when he was there and I loved it. I thought it was like, man, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? This is the job.
I think they realize the importance or the benefit to keeping people on campus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Exactly. So what was that transition like from something like Google to, starting your own
Yeah.
agency?
Well, so when I left Google, I left Google for a company called the Navo. We were a mobile analytics company that eventually got acquired by Facebook. But the transition, because I've always been on the sales side, right? So I'm head of growth for Playbook Media. And from a sales perspective, obviously it's a big change going from a big name brand to a startup that nobody's ever heard of your name. They have no idea what you do. And so, from a sales perspective, it was completely different because I'm reaching out very cold to a lot of companies trying to find our unique positioning and all that good stuff versus Google, where you call and say you're with Google and very few people are going to hang up. I think one of the more critical things was really finding a strong, unique value proposition that would get people to, stay on the phone and get interested in a meeting.
That's awesome. I mean, I come from the sales side as well, and so it's always interesting to see, especially in digital marketing sales, there's so many solutions that you can offer, and so it really becomes about, asking the right questions, like your doctor diagnosing a solution rather than
Right.
trying to pitch everything.
Well, because we all have, especially in the agency world, you got a diverse array of services that you can offer, and you think that you do each one of them incredibly well,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily what you're doing on a first impression is saying, hey, we can do all these things great. We're going to take you from place A to B. It's more so what's going on their side that we can potentially help with. And then through that discovery process, identifying the key challenges and the key needs so that you can best align the services that you provide, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so you joined Playbook Media. A
About
big
a
part.
year, a little bit less than a year ago. Yeah.
Oh, listen. Okay,
And I
cool.
came from I came from Mute Six before that, which is another performance marketing agency.
Gotcha. And so, I know that Playbook Media has a really like data-oriented approach, and that enhances marginal returns on marketing investments. I mean, how does this emphasis on data-driven strategies, differentiate Playbook Media from other agencies, and what kind of impact does that have on like, client outcomes?
I'm glad that you brought that up because we are now going to market with what we're calling performance branding. And really it's the integration of brand marketing and performance marketing. And so getting back to the data, what we've kind of come to realize through our work with a lot of D2C brands is at some point within their primary channels, they reach the point of diminishing returns,
Right.
right? The majority of budget is going towards kind of bottom of funnel conversion oriented campaigns where you're also competing with everybody else that wants that high intent prospect,
Right.
right? So it gets incredibly expensive, gets incredibly competitive. And
Yeah.
so what we're doing is we're using data to not only identify where those diminishing returns are coming from, but also how do we reinvest the savings that we're able to identify into brand awareness, right? And so that's what we're kind of terming as this performance branding is obviously getting direct response to the place where it's almost immaculate, right? So using all the signals, making sure that the campaigns are super tight, but then being able to identify opportunity to create more awareness so that we can get more people in the funnel. And sometimes either that's within channel, right? So Meta, we'll take Meta as an example, is investing more in reach campaigns, or it's tapping into new channels like TikTok, connected TV, where setting up those reach and frequency campaigns, the CPMs are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And it allows brands to get in front of consumers before they become too expensive.
Yeah. Well, that's so smart. I love that.
And what it really allows for is perpetual growth of a brand, right? Because if you're just going after the high intent population, which is roughly like 5% of the population, are you really growing market share? At what point is it not, is it no longer profitable? And so tapping into new audiences, new channels with more brand oriented campaigns helps generate that awareness to continually drive demand.
And so how do you drive that conversation with clients that, they've invested for so long into that 5% of high intent audiences? How do you get them to start thinking a little bit bigger and saying, "Hey, we can attack a lot more of your market if we reinvest some of your savings into this," you know?
Well, again, a thorough data analysis will help identify where profitability might not be
Mm.
as it once was,
Right.
right? So that's number one is using the data to help inform our clients that, hey, we're starting to kind of come up against a plateau here. And really, as far as reinvesting those dollars into brand marketing, you do have the cheaper CPMs at the top of the funnel, but B, it's also the uniqueness of each of these respective channels,
Yeah.
right? I think TikTok touts that 45% of their users are truly unique to that channel
Yeah.
versus Instagram and Facebook, right? And so it's totally new audiences that are within their target personas.
Yeah. And so, Chris, is this more something for companies that are you would consider mid-market? Is this an effective strategy for small
Yeah,
businesses?
I think it's more mid-market, small enterprise. Just because what we usually recommend to people that are just starting to get into performance marketing is really ensuring that they have that buttoned up as tightly as possible, right? They're leveraging the signals within the platforms and leaning into the algorithms to make sure that they're hitting the right audience at the right time with the right creative and really just tightening the screws on performance marketing.
Yeah.
And then once that kind of gets to a point of efficiency and then eventually maybe some diminishing returns, that's where we'll advise to start investing in more brand marketing.
Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah, and then that's a big thing we do here at Orange 142 as well as a performance marketing agency, really focusing on. I think that if you're a small business or you're trying to get up there, even doing $1 million or $2 million a year in revenue, it's good to start to focus on that high intent audience until you can get to a point where you start to be like, okay, we're the market leader in our industry,
Yeah.
and where can we
Yeah,
switch?
we kind of frame it as, hey, capture the existing demand for your product or service. And then once you have that to a place of good efficiency and eventually, a place where it's maybe not as profitable, that's a sign to start investing in more brand growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And so beyond these, performance marketing services, I know that Playbook Media offers strategy consulting and even staffing solutions. How do these additional services contribute to fueling, efficient growth for smart brands, and what kind of value do they provide for your clients?
Yeah. I mean, the consulting services are really, if I were to kind of like simplify that, it's really kind of trying to solve the more strategic marketing problems, not just performance media or brand media, but like collectively, what are marketers like toughest challenges kind of beyond paid media, right? And a lot of that I would say is setting up the right measurement frameworks. That's one thing that we consult on a lot, right? Because now you kind of have the argument of, do I do media mix modeling or do we do multi-touch attribution?
Right.
And I think in some cases it makes sense to leverage both. We typically lean more into media mix modeling just because it paints a really nice picture of like what's working, what's not working, and then also kind of giving us that printout as to where we should be allocating our marketing budget.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool.
I'll talk about the growth tal side as well, which is our consulting arm. And the reason why we have that is sometimes we do have clients that have needs that go beyond the scope of Playbook Media services. And so we have this network of about 100 vetted marketing experts for a variety of job tasks, anywhere from, fractional CMO to somebody like standing up email and SMS. And
Wow.
so really it's kind of like a plug and play that we can either bring in to a Playbook Media client, or we can just kind of outsource it for one-off needs and projects.
What brought about the need for something like that? Because it's pretty unique to an agency to have this arm that does that, you know?
Yeah, I think Brian, our CEO and founder, I think he saw the gap that sometimes not everybody needs like a full like performance marketing agency. They might just need like some stopgap solutions just to kind of get things in a good place. And eventually they scale up to where they'll need somebody like a Playbook Media to come in and really like execute like a more holistic growth effort and strategy.
Yeah, that's smart. So, with the rapid evolution of digital marketing, I mean, how does Playbook Media stay ahead of industry trends, and how do you guys ensure that your strategies remain effective in driving client success?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say this. We've had a lot of conversations about the use of AI. I would say at this point we're starting to kind of become AI geeks. And I think AI can do a number of things, right? It's I think it's best when it's augmenting like human effort as far as, there might be some things that it can streamline just for efficiency's sake. As far as having like a direct impact on like campaign management and so forth, I think we're figuring that out. But I think that's probably like the biggest trend that we're like making sure that we're staying ahead of to bring to our client base.
Yeah, I bet a lot of clients are asking about it, wondering what kind of roles it plays, I'm sure, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, drawing from your extensive experience, what common challenges do brands face in achieving efficient growth, and how do you guys address these challenges to deliver exceptional results?
I think there's two key challenges I think we usually come into conversations with. Number one, brands don't have the in-house talent to execute everything that needs to be done, right? That's one challenge that we typically start conversations with. The other one is they might have an agency, but that agency, they might be really good at Meta, but not so good on, Google or measurement or creative or whatever else, right? And so we do want to become that one-stop shop for brands where obviously at the high level, it's kind of consulting, marketing strategy, but also execution in terms of performance marketing, brand marketing, creative development, measurement solutions, et cetera.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Chris, this has been awesome. Where can people learn more about you, and where can people learn more about your agency?
Yeah, so anybody that wants to type in Chris Henrotin into LinkedIn, you can connect with me there. I'm not sure what comes with the podcast, but yeah, hit me up anytime. And then our website is playbookmedia.com. And in there, you can actually download the new performance branding guide that we created. It's a great guide that will help really kind of articulate the value of integrating brand and performance marketing. So we hope that that's an incredibly valuable resource for anybody that's starting to kind of look into growing their brand marketing efforts in 2025.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on, Chris. This was great.
Sure. Absolutely. My pleasure.